Welcome again to my study. And of course, as per usual, a book, but this one is a different one. Haunted Houses. C.G. Harper. The turn of the century, this one. 1907. Lovely spine there, look. Rather appropriate, isn't it? Skull in a frame at the top of the stairs. There it is. Black cover. Lady there, look. In the Tudor garb. And I was just having a look at this one. Tunbridge Wells. A couple of little tales. A great Bayhall Manor house. Pembury. Tunbridge Wells. It's engravings. There's no photographs in this book, being early. Great Bayhall Manor house. There you go. You can see by the style of the architecture. Definitely Georgian there, going back. Possibly with earlier origins. And there's another tale regarding this. The churchyard, a few miles away from Great Bayhall House. Pembury Old Churchyard. Yeah. And that, in the foreground, is the tomb of Mrs. Ann West, and the little tale of Mrs. Ann West I shall tell to you in a bit. Let's go back now. Great Bayhall House. It's a Great Bayhall Manor house. Tunbridge Wells, Kent. Great Bayhall Manor house, long years ago, become a farm and now deserted, has in recent years been the scene of manifestations in the ghostly kind. These mystical sights and sounds were duly narrated in the newspapers, and it is quite probable that they lost no circumstances of the marvellous and horrible thereby. According to one account, the old manor, with its moss-grown roof, its broken doors and windows, and its old moat, can be traced back to the reign of King John. There you go, early origins, with later additions and alterations, and you could see the facade there on that illustration I showed you there, on that engraving, was indeed Georgian. Queen Anne can be traced back to the reign of King John. For several weeks past, persons residing in the immediate neighbourhood have been startled by unearthly noises and groans, and many of the villagers have been heard to declare that they have seen ghostly figures walking about. Such has been the sensation caused in Tunbridge Wells that a number of well-known gentlemen have visited the house and heard what they believe to be true spirit noises. The investigators were armed with heavy sticks and for upwards of an hour awaited the first sound, which was to signalise the presence of the ghost. According to the story told by one of them, they were straining eye and ear when suddenly a rumbling noise, like the dragging of some heavy body across the floor, broke the silence of the night. Wow. Before we go any further, the usual. Refreshing cup of tea. just to lubricate the larynx. The dragging noise, remember, which broke the silence of the night. One or two of the explorers were paralysed with fear. It's a good description, isn't it? But the rest were sufficiently courageous enough to enter the house. In the cellar below there was a succession of thuds followed by groans, and the result was that the party beat a hasty retreat. I wonder why. Visits have been paid by other parties who have reported the groans as terrible. Meanwhile, the village is besieged daily by visitors from all parts of the county, and several men have been posted round the ruins to prevent damage being done. Lot of interest, even in those days, in the paranormal. This interesting place is situated near Pembury Green and is reached by 3/4 of a mile of exceedingly steep and rough pathways leading through hop gardens. When at last the spot is gained, the old manor house, built of stone in a heavy, gloomy, classical style, about 250 years ago, is seen to lie in a lonely hollow, neighbourhood only by two modern brick cottages, melancholy pine trees and a forbidding pond, eminently suitable for suicides, are fitting accompaniments of the scene of ruin. There's a description for you. The property belongs to Lord Camden, who was obliged to prosecute many of the rowdy and destructive people who made havoc there when the ghost story was in full vogue 11 years ago. The unquiet spirit supposed to haunt this spot and to bring a trail of mystery with it is locally said to be that of a lady whose tomb in Pembury old churchyard is the common talk of the neighbourhood. It stands by the porch and is an altar tomb bearing the epitaph to the memory of Mrs. Anne West, late of Bayhall. That's Bayhall Manor House in this parish, who died April 13th, 1803, aged 34 years. What about that? It's no age, really, is it? That's when she died. It's inscribed on the... let's have a little on the side of the tomb there. A large orifice is pointed out, and the story is told that the lady, having been once nearly buried alive, went in a not unnatural dread afterwards, and made special arrangements by which she was to be buried in a coffin without a lid, with a hole in the brickwork of the vault, so that in case of her being really alive and recovering, she could call for assistance. Wow. An amplified version of this story declared that she willed her fortune to a manservant on condition that he placed bread and water on her coffin for 12 months after her presumed decease. Iron bars were fixed across the opening of the tomb, and it has long been a pastime with country lads to drop stones through, to hear them drop onto the coffin. Mister. A sheer matter of fact, you cannot taste this tearful pleasure, because the vault is closed and the opening is only that of a small air chamber. But there are many evidences in the shape of half-burnt matches around the grill, and in the stones pushed through, and the plaster picked out of the church walls, that the story is well known, and the place plentifully visited. It should be added, for the guidance of intending pilgrims, that great Bayhall Manor house is quite 3 miles from Pembury Old Church, Pembury Green being a modern hamlet. There we are. Let's have another look at the tomb in Pembury Old Churchyard. That's a tomb. How old was she? 34 years. And she had a dread of being buried alive and stated that she didn't want a coffin lid, and the rest that I've told you. Let's have a last look at the great Bayhall Manor house where she lived. And many reports of strange noises were told there, which pulled in a lot of visitors. Nice to see her again is the book. Haunted Houses by C.G. Harper. Note how the black covering. You see, she disappears, the clothing, and all you can see is the white edge to the Tudor dress, the gauntlets, and the white. You imagine that, imagine seeing that in the black of the night, in the dark. Nice to see you. Until we meet again, I wish you well. May your God be with you. Bye bye.